As someone who is not
I
only
am me.
I like
but a
singing.
child
I
of
love
bicycle
singing,
person.
teaching,
Mechanic
and connecting with
and
people.
But near
I
water.
I am
belong
a
here
daughter
in downtown
and
Teal.
partner.
Who am I? Where do I belong? How do I behave?
I am a bicycle person, mechanic, and advocate.
I am me. I love singing, teaching, and connecting with people.
As someone who is not only mixed race but a child of adoption, I feel in between a lot of worlds.
I am an elder.
I belong on land, but near water, because that is where I was born.
Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, once you feel that groove, once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, once you feel that, once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you start to move, your body's got to move. Your feet have got to move.
Move your feet, everybody.
Your hands have got to move.
Can those hands,
Your
everybody?
face has got to move.
Let me see you
Your
smile.
body's got to move. Your heart has got to move. Your spirit's got to move. Your soul has got to move. Your move has got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move. Once you feel that groove, your body's got to move.
In 2016, I was part of the project Patchwork Village, which was a series of portraits and interviews with community members of various lifespans on the Esplanade. And from those portraits came live performances for Nuit Blanche. My choice was David Crombie, and I chose his story because 3 questions in his interview really stood out to me. Who am I? Where do I belong? How do I behave?
I was raised in the village of Swansea, which is the west end of the city.
I know it.
And my parents were raised there as well. They went to Swansea Public School, as I went to. I was related, I thought, to half the village. It's a 1 square mile, and it's bounded on 3 sides by water. Grenadier Pond, Humber River, Lake Ontario, and then up to Bloor Street. 1 square mile, 6,000 people. Years later, when I was trying to describe with another guy, with Harry Bruce was a wonderful writer years ago, and he wanted to know about what we meant by neighborhoods. And I was with a guy by the name of Ron Begg. And Ron and I he was 3 years younger than me, we were describing what we thought what a neighborhood was about, what a real physical community was about. And he looked at it, he said, you guys raised the same? We learned it without even knowing we were learning the essentials of community in those places. I've always understood that you really do have to understand, if you're, what are those old questions, who am I, where do I belong, how do I behave? Those are best learned in small places and small spaces.
Yeah.
And that's the core of community. If I've got a core, it's that, yeah.
A lot of the time while people were trying to come up with answers for the questions, they're like, well, who do you think I am? Who do you see me as? Where do you think I like? And it's like, no, it's what do you think? How do you feel? And it's, I think for a lot of people, it was the first time that people got to actually ask themselves that question.
You are connected to a place.
Yeah.
And in your identity, the answers to the question, who am I, where do I belong, and how do I behave, they keep changing. But you still need a small space to be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got 150 people from the community to design a shoe based off of the 3 questions: who am I, where do I belong, and how do I behave? And we have a series of workshops with an artist from the from the community. So everyone goes on this spiritual journey to find themselves, to reflect on themselves, to be mindful about themselves, but also themselves and their place in the world, in the community, in their families, in their schools, in their homes, wherever they work. They find themselves and they try to as best as they can to represent that on a shoe.
What Marked is, it's art of, we celebrate art on sneakers, and what we use sneakers as a canvas, as a narrative and kind of as storytelling, as a cool way to illustrate stories from communities and cultures. We collect all the different items and showcase them depending on where we do stuff. And the real secret to I guess what we do is we use art, which is popular, and we also use sneaker culture, which is popular, merge the two together, then it becomes a really interesting thing.
My favorite thing about Feetprint is the way it brings together the community and the way it lets everybody share their stories with each other and develop these really, really tight connections. And it builds the community up further and bigger and makes it a lot stronger.
This project's important for our community because everyone's voices are being heard through their own way via art. So they can share what they want, what they feel like, what their community is about, what things they need to improve, like what's so special about this community.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much people could do with just these, fabric markers. I think the symbolic nature of each person's shoe is really interesting. So it wasn't just, I'm just making a picture. It was like all the words or drawings represent something that's about them.
And you know what we're exploring? What? Our interconnected identities. It's a spiritual journey of our interconnected identities. Feetprint. I don't know what else to do.
Where do I belong? Where do I belong? So many stories. So many stories. Where is my story? So much time. Who tells my story? Who tells my story? Who tells my story?
Who am I? Victor Galan, born in Toronto, Canada. Grew up on the Jane Street, a neighborhood called Chalk Farm, for 28 years. Where do I belong? I belong with people who are happy and loving and caring. How do I behave? I behave the way my mother raised me, the way she told me to respect women and to take life seriously.
I am me. I love singing, teaching, and connecting with people. I am a daughter and partner, and I work with the Canadian Opera Company. I belong where my heart is, in music and in nature. I belong to the LGBTQI2S community and to the teaching community.
In my shoe, it shows that I'm a very eco-friendly person by making a futuristic Parliament Hill with the concept of solar panels and wind turbines, because I believe in climate change and that greenhouse gases are rising. As well, it shows that the green is the background I come from, Bangladesh, with the red showing that I'm Canadian and I was born on this native land we call today Canada.
This cow represents, it has the horns, which is a very common thing with the cows that are in Rwanda, and with the horns, it's like a symbolism of being headstrong and going in head first and being resilient. And it has the flag colors on the horn, and then has a red circle to represent my mother's Japanese side. So I would like the cow to be a representation of myself. I have, I think, on this side, 3 different quotes from 3 different people that I find influential in my life and that I really care about and people I look up to. So there's a quote from Hayao Miyazaki, the creator of Studio Ghibli and one of my favorite directors. There's a quote from John Lennon from my favorite song of his, Across the Universe. There's a Nelson Mandela quote, and I put them on the laces because it's like symbolism of the words that tie me together, like the words that I care about and that I find really important to me.
Most of my shoe represents how teaching and learning are a part of my everyday life as a teacher and a learner to those around me. The pictorial representations symbolize how my senses intersect with me. The intricate lines, spirals, and dots signify the ongoing journey and behavior I am on, and the feetprints are the steps I'm taking along the way.
This is my shoe. I have the pink on there because my mom's friend's going through breast cancer and it's really affected her, so I put that on there. I put the red on there because it's my favorite color. On the tongue, I have a lot of people that passed away from me. So this is Ali and this is Tyson Bailey. It's from where I'm from, Regent Park North Side. Peace is the one thing that I like and love.
I am a bicycle person, mechanic, and advocate. I belong here in downtown TO. My love of bikes has found a place in the city. I try to make a bridge between those in life that need a bike, need their bike fixed, don't know the laws, can't change a process, can't get a bike lane fixed or installed, too scared to ride, do not see the bigger picture as in biking is good for people and society as a whole, and bridge over to experienced mechanics and riders and politicians and city planners and city staff and anyone that can make a difference.
Falk is who I am. I like things when they are in order. I belong on land, but near water because that is where I was born, and I behave well in a pattern.
I am an elder now, a learner and an explorer. I enjoy life, mostly with humor and gratitude, lots of gratitude. I belong with this awesome planet, Earth, conscious of here and now. I sing, laugh, love, create, imagine, explore, question, beautify, listen, listen, listen.
The elements are definitely earth, wind, fire, sun, water, growth, nature, leaves. So I was actually surprised when I saw the shoe again, because I like it more than I thought. I'm actually more aware of it now, I guess, looking at it. I remember coloring the tongue at the very last minute, and I colored it like the sunrise because it kind of felt really hopeful. I wrote the word love on it because there's a country song that is Somebody Wrote Love. It's somebody wrote love in an unexpected place and the chain reaction that can cause. And I used the word love. Now I'm going to get emotional.
That's okay.
So this country song is called Somebody Wrote Love. But I wrote my dad's name. It's almost whenever I write it.
It's okay. Take a minute.
So whenever I write it, it's like writing my dad's name, because the last time I talked to my dad, I was traveling. I didn't know I was going to say this, and I didn't know I was going to cry.
That's okay. Where were you traveling?
So I was traveling in Europe, and the last time I talked to my dad, I was about to go to the south of Italy, and he said to me to write his name and leave it somewhere. And I did. I climbed a volcano, and I left his name at the top of a volcano. So, and then 5 or 6 days later is when I got the call that he had died, so yeah.
This helped me think about my family and everything I like. I'm the oldest from the kids, and my brother's 4. He is in Rainbow Room. We're in the same daycare. My sister's 2 years old. At first, I was a little bit nervous.
Why?
Because having a baby sister is so much work. I can't have a baby sister and a baby brother. That's so much work. I remember when Dominic chose me to be a shoe person. I was so surprised. I didn't know what we were gonna do. And then I started doing all this, and now I'm so happy. I can't believe that I get to draw on a shoe for the first time. My mom and dad don't let me draw on my shoes.
I'm a singer, I'm a storyteller, I'm Canadian, I'm an immigrant. I'm a child of immigrants, I'm a child of Canadians. I'm alive, I breathe, I sing, I walk, I tell stories, I make art, I live in Toronto, I work in Toronto, I live in Toronto, and I love in Toronto. Who am I?
I'm resistance.
Who am I?
I'm resistance.
Who am I?
I'm the revolution.
Who am
I fire expectations.
Who am
I'm beautiful, beautiful.
Who am
I'm intelligent.
Who am
I'm fearless.
Who am
But I'm fearful.
Who am
I'm full of confidence.
Who am
And insecurity. I'm the resistance. I am me.
The display of the shoes was an organic process, and it's really changed as we've gone along. The initial premise of the work was to have a circle of life, and so an artist had the circles, they were horizontal and the shoes were hanging from them, and so participants could look at them and view them from kind of underneath, which was a unique perspective of the shoes. For Culture Days, we had a beautiful display in the courtyard outside the library.
The actual way that it was put up, so like the string with all the shoes hanging from them, I thought visually was really exciting because you got to go and walk along and see each shoe and then imagine what the story is, and then you can sort of read their little story as well of where this shoe came from.
Symbolically, many of you may have seen that you see these shoes flung up onto power lines, indicating, these shoes are really special shoes. Sometimes if these pair of shoes have won a, premiership soccer match or something, they're like, okay, this is the end. Those shoes are being hung up. The line can almost indicate the holding of hands and the supporting of each other. The idea behind this was that we are all interconnected. The last display, Jamie was asked to display them at the Toronto Marathon. The path on the ground, it's a progression of life. All of these people are together at this one time and they're moving along this pathway together. Some will end earlier and some haven't even begun yet, but this is kind of your cohort of people that are moving through life with you. And some people are closer to you on a given day, but then others may come in. We don't always need something, an art piece, to be permanent and to be there all the time, because often when you see these art pieces, after a while, when you see them over and over again, you don't see them anymore. Whereas if you put up like a pop-up art display, it really is something special because it's unique and it's something different. It goes from space to space, so it's a shared, all of these stories are shared with different audiences each time.
I belong in trees.
Where do I belong?
I belong at home.
Where do I belong?
I belong with
Where
friends.
do I belong?
I belong with me.
Where do I belong?
Now I belong in smiles. I belong in hugs. Hug me. Give me a hug.
Where do I belong?
In your arms. I belong in love. Hey, hey. I belong right
Where
here.
do I belong? With
Everyone is keep on saying, wow, I love the Esplanade. I love the St. Lawrence community. Especially this community was the base of everything. This is where Toronto all started. If you date back to when the British came, and then all that revolution, and then afterwards the building of York and the building of our unique country that we call Canada, of the land of the First Nations. This is the one that all started everything. The St. Lawrence community is one of the most historic communities I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was a day like today, over 200 years ago, when our ancestors, when Westwood's ancestors, our First Nations, would have stood up right up there where Sherbourne and Front Street is, when the shoreline was there, and it would have been a nice warm day and a breeze, and it was a massive forest of pine trees. And a family would have stood up there, Mohawk or maybe Mississauga, Credit River, and they would have looked out into the lake, and they would have seen a ship coming. A British ship with flying the Union Jack coming ashore in August of 1793. And they landed ceremonially, probably right where we are right now. They anchored the ship, they set off the cannon, and they said that this land that was known for generations as Toronto, meaning the meeting place in the Huron language, or it's now been disputed, it could be Toronto with a K in the Mohawk language, meaning sticks in the water. This land is now going to be called York. And it was around 1818 that they decided that they would build the Esplanade. That they said, let's bring the people a bit down closer to the water. And, by then we had, in 1818, about 2,000 people living here. So they started to build a walkway. They said, we have a nice little walkway where after you've, worked all day, you can come down to the waterfront and walk along the water. So they built a lovely little walkway here called the Esplanade that was to stretch from Parliament Street all the way over to Yonge Street. And they planted some trees, and they had a few wharves and piers. We were a government town. We had the Parliament buildings down at Parliament Street there. We replaced the old capital of Niagara-on-the-Lake, which was too close to America. And now we were the capital of the colony of Upper Canada. So we prospered a bit. We built the distillery in 1832. And by then we had about 10,000 people living here. We built a candle factory down at Yonge and Esplanade. And so we had two factories. By 1834, we had a candle factory and we had a booze making factory. What more do you need? With a town now of 10,000 people, they decided to become a city. And the city of Toronto was born, and we reverted back to the original name because now people were being born here. We weren't just British, we weren't just American, we now were actually being born on this land. And that generation said, we must honor our past with the original name of Toronto. So the city of Toronto was born on March 6, 1834. And with that, they expanded the Esplanade because now shipping was really starting to expand here in the Great Lakes. They started to work with coal, and we needed to have a coal burning factory. So they built it right there at Princess and Esplanade in the 1860s. The railway now was coming through Toronto. They decided they wanted the Esplanade, so they ripped up the old walkway that was here. They started to lay train tracks along here. They had an enormous coal manufacturing company, the Elias Rogers Coal Manufacturing. And right there where that lovely building stands today was one of the most heavily polluted factories on Earth. And just next to us, there was the ice factory, the Lake Simcoe Ice Factory. And then by 1900, Toronto had we had about 500,000 people living here. And we built, of course, the great St. Lawrence Market that stands there today. And all the wharves and piers that now line the Esplanade, there are about 100 wharves that were now here by 1900. And there were people who lived under those wharves. They're known to history as the mudlarks. But luckily, we grew out of that. Canada got its act together, and at the end of the Second World War, we got rid of that way of life. All the great slums in the city were torn down. But also what they did is they built this, where we are today. All this was built as a result of urban renewal to bring people back downtown again. And here we are now.
A planner working for the city called Frank Lundberg had identified this place as a location for an entirely new neighborhood. I think a lot of people thought the idea to be totally crazy. We were talking earlier what this place looked like. Auto wrecking yards, parking lots, industrial buildings, a wasteland, really the armpit of the city. The most important decision that was made about this whole community, the most important planning decision, and that was the commitment to the idea of mix, of diversity. First of all, we realized you had to have a variety of different households living in the place, in the new place, the new neighborhood. You had to have a variety of ages. You wanted old people and young people. That meant you wanted families, you wanted single people. And so you wanted to make sure that you had a variety of incomes. Then you wanted to have a variety of housing types. You didn't want all apartments, but you wanted some houses, you wanted some higher buildings. And you wanted a variety of uses. It shouldn't all be housing. You needed retail, you needed schools, you needed parks. It was a mix.
When I was doing the workshops, I was very happy to see how mixed the group was. Like, I love seeing sort of worlds colliding in a positive way, you know, like I like seeing that it was, you know, the group that I was working with, both when I was doing the shoe workshop the first time and then when I was leading a workshop, was sort of all different ages. There was like generational, you know, there was like father-son, there was, you know, people from all sort of ethnic backgrounds. Like, it was, and you know, that was important to me. I like seeing people being brought together, especially doing something like art. I'm mixed race, you know, I'm white and black. I'm adopted as well. Both my parents are white, and I grew up, even though I was born in Toronto, I grew up in a very small town where there was no other black people whatsoever. Yeah. So I've gone through life raised in an environment where largely all of my friends and family and people close to me are white, but every person that I see, including my friends and family, sees me as black. So I've never really identified as one or the other. I feel very in between, and it is, I think of it as a very positive thing, because I feel like I can still observe and sympathize and empathize with people of all different cultures, but I don't necessarily feel burdened, for example, by, mentally I don't feel like I have to fit in a box. That's something that's like really important to me. There's like this areas where there's these like blending colors and all these different lines, and the idea here was to sort of, that was my way of getting across like just the idea of sort of breaking down those walls and like dissolving those barriers and existing maybe between these borders.
You know, we have so many labels for people in society, and I don't think you can really know somebody without having that in-person impression. So the footprint is that impression that you leave on someone's soul almost.
People who travel a little bit, it's not that there aren't other places that are diverse, but one thing that I feel, being somebody who's been lucky enough to travel to a lot of other places, is that even in the States, where there's people from like all different places in the world, there's not, I personally, as somebody that is mixed race and, you know, is used to being categorized by everybody that sees me, one thing that I feel in Canada, and Toronto specifically, as like a major city instead of like a small town, is a level of comfort.
And that, like any opportunity for art to express someone's internal life, you know, offers possibility and hope. I think you know, giving someone a voice offers hope, and we don't do it enough.
When I thought of the question of who am I thought of my name, because my name is Nadifa Dawood Mohammed, and my middle name comes from my father, and my last name comes from my grandfather, and it goes on, so I could trace back my whole kind of lineage. And I think it's very important for our culture so that you know where you come from, who you come from, and so you have a sense of family everywhere you go, even if you say your name.
Feetprint is such a beautiful culminative experience of the stories that we leave on the land and the territory, the voice that we share with the earth.
I also thought about what it means to me to be part of the diaspora, especially part of the diaspora community in Somalia or from Somalia. They say that Africa is not, you're not African because you were born in Africa, but because Africa was born in you, and I feel that really strongly.
The shoes and the journey that is in someone's soul is remarkable, and the way they have put that onto the canvas, the fabric of that shoe, it takes on a whole new life. Like, there's so much more in that shoe than people ever imagine, right?
The statement, "No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark," it comes from a Somali poet named Warsan Shire, and she kind of uses it to explain kind of what refugees and immigrants have to face. So in Somalia there was a civil war that happened in 1993, early 19 90s, and a lot of the Somali people had to leave, including me and my family. And yeah, and her family as well. So she kind of explains how the diaspora has to they have to deal with this situation, in that no one really wants to leave home unless it's very dangerous. And yeah, and I wrote it twice because it's so significant. The red symbolizes death and kind of the lives that we've lost in wars or through street violence or gun violence, stuff like that. And I drew it from a woman's perspective because there's a lot of Somali women that are older Somali women that are kind of grieving, and they haven't exactly had the chance to stop grieving because it just happens so often.
It says, "Oh Canada, our home, not and, but on native land." I've seen that on somebody's jacket during one of the demonstrations regarding Standing Rock.
I wrote kind of different countries on what's supposed to be a sea. So Britain, France, and Italy kind of colonized Somalia, so that's what I kind of drew upon, and how they have a long-lasting effect even though they haven't been there for a while. Other countries like Canada have more less of an impact, I would say, but they kind of still influence the Somali people that are here. Kenya and Ethiopia and USA, they're kind of countries that are always kind of involved in Somalia. So USA, there are a lot of them, there's a lot of drones that come from the USA that kind of bomb sometimes innocent people. Kenya and Ethiopia, they're not colonizers exactly, but they have taken Somali land. And then the rest of the countries kind of, I wrote them down because of piracy. And piracy is a big issue in Somalia, and especially in the international light. But yeah, it's kind of they're illegally fishing, and then they kind of blame it on pirates and how they're aggressive and they might take ships and stuff, but they're not exactly taking ships because they want to, but because they're protecting their sea and their body of water.
Inside, what's important to me, that what I call the tongue of the shoe, that's just part of a very famous quote. They tried to bury us, but they forgot. We are seeds, and we will spring up again. Our time is coming.
So I drew a tree at the back to symbolize growth, because even though all of these terrible things are happening, we're still growing and we're still prospering, and that nothing can really stop us at the end of the day.
Reading Michel de Certeau's Walking in the City, I realized that I've always found pleasure in doing just that. Exploring public spaces, wondering about their purposes, but also reimagining new uses. On one such excursion, I chanced upon a poster about Canada 150. It urged, resist 150, decolonize. From studying history and my love of reading all over current news, I happen to know that indigenous nations have been living in and off this land for more than 10,000 years. We, who came later, are all immigrants and guests here. It is not for me to declare myself an ally in the struggle of indigenous nations for their rights, but I am striving to educate myself and my kind about the true history of Canada and the whole of Turtle Island.
You've surveyed a group of 150 people, all different ages, from all different cultures, all different walks of life, quite literally, Feetprint shoes, all different walks of life, and you have it on 150 shoes in this exhibit, and through their stories, through their write-ups, through this video, through the movie that we're going to make, and it's going to be authentic, it's going to be real, and I just think that's so cool. That's what we're leaving, an actual footprint behind.
I think the impact is that it gets to bring everyone together, and everyone gets to experience something that's the same being the sneaker, and it starts to tell the story and share narratives about members of the community, and they can find common ground and languages for each other. I think it's important to share each other's stories, especially using a creative tool the sneakers just because everyone has their own story, and the best way for a community to come together is for everyone to share their perspectives. I think what Jamii has to do next is to take all that creative information and the way that they're creatively able to get the information and start to influence change and make certain changes in the community with the information that they have.
Because it's the study of people, it's people's stories, people's lives, people's passions, the things that people were caught up in today. And like this is like an artistic version of an archive. You guys are creating an archive of the Esplanade right now. How like cool is that?
So powerful here and now, right this minute, because everything is past or future and it's not non-existent anymore. So if it comes to something important, I sort of gather in to myself and focus on the present time, not off worrying about future things or remorse for the past. I do have some, but you know, like I can't do anything about that. So I try and focus on what I can do now.
I put a heart here. It says heart, it says like, it looks like a U, but it was supposed to be like love life. But of course, even though it was a mistake, it was actually a correction, because you should love yourself and you always should have that type of love for yourself. So I carry that with me everywhere I go.
And so my shoe looks at all the different ways that I can sort of navigate through life, and this here is about all the different experiences in life that one might have, where I'm going out and doing new things and where I'm maybe more in a straight line, but I'm navigating through all my life's experiences to the very end where I just jump into everything.
The key thing is life. Why is it key? One, because I'm living it and I get to choose the way I want to live it, and you only have one life to live, so enjoy it.